What martial arts would you like to see in future Tekken projects? After doing some polls in a few Tekken Facebook groups, I was able to find out that very answer. The 13 martial arts proposed were a diverse group spanning the globe. In this video series, we'll look at the history, some techniques, and talk about some possible character designs.
I am the unknown Feng, and this is Dambe.
Siam against Africa!
African martial arts have been largely overlooked in the martial arts community, let alone in fighting games. I doubt the casual gamer can even count on one hand the African fighters, let alone fighting styles, featured in hundreds of the fighters out there. Hopefully, in a future Tekken game we may see that. What about an ancient fighting style that could be possibly as old as the pyramids themselves? In Egypt, the 5,000-year-old art of Tatip Sig fighting is quite a popular candidate, but there are other techniques that decorate these walls. Unarmed techniques that may have traveled across the Sahara centuries ago, developing into the blood sport of Hausa butchers. Nigeria is the largest country in Africa and also one of the richest. Many ethnic groups populate the West African nation, but few stand out as prominently as the Hausa, who cohabit the north along with the Fulani. The Hausa are a Muslim ethnic group with possible ties to the Horn of Africa that have maintained strong ties and traditions to their religion. Dambe would develop from Kokowa, a sport that emerged sometime in the 10th century. To celebrate the harvest, warriors from various clans would travel around challenging fighters from other villages. Eventually, as it grew more popular, the fighters would travel around in guilds. Dambe was also a way to prepare for war. The rear hand, known as the kata, is wrapped in rope symbolizing the spear, while the lead hand is free, symbolizing the shield. In the past, boxers dipped their spear hands in resin and glass, not unlike the Thai boxers over 6,500 miles away. Matches usually start with each fighter squared off, closely looking for any movement and preparation for a counterattack. Winning in Dambe can be accomplished in a few ways, the most common being knocking an opponent onto their back or onto their knees, which is seen as a kill. The final way to win is from an opponent giving up. Depending on the game and organization, fights are usually 3 rounds, but sometimes these rounds have no time limit.
Rocket is getting ready as well.
Music plays a huge role in the fights as well, with one singer, a chorus, and a percussionary group playing with the goal of hyping up the boxers and the crowd. There are no weight classes, but fighters are usually matched by size and age. Some fighters start off as early as age 10 in the sport, but staying too long is begging for permanent brain injuries. Dambe at a glance appears like a simple yet brutal exchange of overhead rights and crosses, but there are so much more attacks in this sport. Hooks and uppercuts are also used as well, and you can expect a few back fists. The lead hand is usually used for parrying attacks and blocking. Dambe fighters can also make use of roundhouse kicks as well. However, it's the mastery of overhand rights that we see from other characters like Dragunov and Gigas that would go well with this new character's arsenal. Now this seems like an interesting style in and by itself, but adding the explosive Kokowa slams would only make this character more dangerous. Kokowa is basically the grappling aspect of combat Dambe. Known as Lam by many of the native Wolof people, the Hausa call it Kokowa. Highly technical throws, like the Shar, would allow this new character to slam their opponents to the ground in some dynamic ways that would rival King's. Grappling moves are quite popular in Tekken, and not many other characters other than Dragunov, the Kings, and Marduk really showcase this. So, how should this Dambe fighter or Dambe look?
By connecting his brain to the computer, he will be able to control the movements of the suit.
My inspiration for the new design comes from a few sources such as Ruken, DoomFist, and Neinhalt. Honestly speaking, we could just make over a current character in the Tekken 7 roster, much like Tekken 3's Gen versus Tekken 4's. We are pretty lucky as Gigas has never been unmasked. We do know that before the procedure, he was probably a Brazilian saboteur. Personally, I love the ambiguity of the Bionic Commando's latest design. In Tekken 7, Gigas has been a savage Hulk, but how about in Tekken 8? Instead of being a mass of inherent grunts, the juice is worn off and he's back to his old self. He's much more tactical and deliberate, however they can't remove his arm, so he uses it mainly for devastating attacks like a Dambe boxer. I was worried about the counterbalance of weight, but these days anything is possible with the right amount of metal alloy and exoskeleton, the Winter Soldier being one good example. And hopefully they can rework his size and overall design with the story of him either escaping or being rescued by Jane. Maybe she or Dr. Abel have reversed most of the genetic modifications, or like steroids, his body is slowly returning to normal. In regards to playstyle or archetype, Arya from Blasted Salami has him listed as a long-reach character similar to Jack 7, with more focus on oppression versus keep out. It's a shame that Gigas became a bit of a throwaway character once Marduk was released. While he had the power, there really wasn't much else going for him. With this new design, they could give him more variety with his attacks and grappling, and also introduce gamers to a new fighting style from West Africa. Only about 4 votes went to Dambe, so it's another one of the unpopular ones. Personally though, I also think this is an awesome martial art and would require some tweaking for a fighting game. DoomFist has already introduced it to the FPS circuit, but I think this Gigas Unmasked edition might go great for Tekken. Well, I hope you liked this one, and I'm really looking forward to the next episode. In the meantime, subscribe, hit the notice bell, and tell your friends about this video. God bless. Feng out.
Motherfucker, man, I'm saying, holla, pull up, shit. Saying, you don't know nothing, but I'm gonna tell you something. And I'm saying, hey yo, tough nigga, man.